Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back from break. I hope you all had a safe break with your family. Thanksgiving break with your family. If you celebrate Thanksgiving, I hope you had a safe and fun time. And if you took advantage of all the sales, I hope you did. We had our request to results toolkit on sale, as well as our IEP master IEP ebook bundles on sale. So hope you all took advantage of that, and you also took advantage of any deals that you were looking forward to. I am Jamila, aka the IEP Coach, and I am the founder and CEO of the IEP Coach LLC. And welcome to the Coaching Corner. We go live every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we talk about all things special education. And what we do at the IEP Coach, we specialize in providing professional development and coaching to SPED teams, teachers, and paraprofessionals so they can thrive in their roles and keep their schools out of litigation. That's just a little bit about what we do at the IEP Coach. All right, so tonight we have Ask the IEP Coach. You got IEP questions? You got SPED questions? Ask the IEP Coach. We're doing part 2 because part 1, we had so many questions that came in. I'm like, oh, we need to do a part 2 so that we can, continue to address your questions. So before we move on, I want you to share out this live. Make sure you share out this live. Share it with anyone who may have SPED questions, so that way they can share their SPED questions and get the answers to their questions. So share this with parents, friends, colleagues. Share out this live, okay? Share out this live, all right? And also, I want you to know, please make sure you subscribe to our newsletter, the IEP Insider. It is specifically for special education teachers and administrators. Gives you strategies and tips that you can apply right away in your roles. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop that. We drop a new edition every Wednesday. Okay. We tend to do it in the middle of the day, so you have time to look it over. So here is the link for you to go ahead and make sure that you are subscribed, that you subscribe to the newsletter. All right. And also we will be doing a webinar specifically for SPED leaders, administrators, principals, all that. And we're focusing on progress monitoring. Oh, when I tell you progress monitoring is at the core of everything at your school. So progress monitoring 101, the missing system costing your school growth and how to fix it. That is the title of our webinar, and I'm going to go ahead and drop the link for you here. You can go ahead and if you are an admin on right now, go ahead and register for it. It's absolutely free. You can pass this on to another administrator, okay? All righty. Let's make sure we are on. And we are streaming live on our Facebook, our Instagram, our LinkedIn, and our YouTube pages, okay? So we are going live all over. Hello, 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 everybody. And welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello. All right. And as you are coming in, please drop in the comments where you are tuning in from. Drop it in the comments. And you can start putting your questions in the comments as well. I know it takes you a minute to type out your questions. So if you have questions about the IEP, if you have questions about something that's just regarding special education, go ahead and put it in the comments section right now. Someone from my team will make sure I see it, so that way I can answer it right here on the live. So go ahead and take your time, and we will be going live on our TikTok page as well. So let me get that together, give you time to start typing out your questions. Alrighty. Okay. Do. All right, so we are also live on our TikTok page as well. Okay, so we are also live on our TikTok page. So tonight is Ask the IEP Coach. So come with your questions and we will answer it right here on the live. Let me just check see what's the first question that we have. And put your questions in the comments, and we can answer your questions if it's regarding the IEP or if it's special education related. Go ahead and drop your questions in the comment section, and we will answer it right here on the live. All right. So one question that was asked, let me make sure I read this correctly. This person says, do you think students in mental health and emotional, do you think students with mental health and emotional issues, emotional issues should be provided special education services, or should they be in a diverse learning classes? Why or why not? All right. So if a student has mental health issues or if they have emotional issues, when they get evaluated, the psychologist is going to give their recommendations, right? Now, also, the special education teacher and teachers that know the student can give their feedback regarding the student as well. Because just because the student has, let's say, emotional issues, like, what do you mean by emotional issues? Are you saying emotional, like what, they have anxiety? Are you saying they're emotional, like they taking everything, are they taking everything personal? Are they very aggressive? Like, it really depends on the severity of the disability, and what their needs are, which determines the type of placement that they need to be in. So for example, you can have a student who has an emotional disability and they may just require check in and check out from their case manager. They don't necessarily need to be in a setting where there are other children that have emotional disabilities and exhibiting the same behaviors. That doesn't mean that they require that. They may just need perhaps group therapy, to also practice some executive functioning skills. So they may need to practice taking turns speaking, taking turns playing a game, learning how to be in proximity with someone else. They may need that. They may need group therapy and individual counseling to talk about the issues that they're having in school. And the case manager and the SPED team will put strategies in place to put strategies in place to support the students with their needs. So for example, I used to be an emotional support teacher. I taught 7th grade English, and I was the emotional support teacher. So I had students who had emotional disabilities. I had students on my caseload who had severe ADHD. They were on my caseload as well. And I had some students who were autistic. I had students who had severe ADHD and were gifted. I had a student who was autistic and was gifted. I had an array of students on my caseload. And one student in particular, she had an emotional disability. So one thing for her, she was a people pleaser. So I had to support her with that, with helping her to understand that if she's feeling uncomfortable, you don't just be uncomfortable. You don't put yourself through being uncomfortable and not feeling well just to please somebody else. So we had to work through that. She had group therapy and she had individual counseling. So we had to work through that with her. That was an everyday thing. Academically, she did fine. My instructional assistant followed her to all of her classes. She had a hard time. She didn't want to inconvenience anybody. So like if she had to go to the bathroom, or if she needed help from a teacher, she wouldn't always raise her hand and advocate for herself. So self-advocacy was something else that we worked on. We also put in place some nonverbal ways for her to let her teacher know, like, hey, I need to take a break. I need to step out the classroom and take a break for a second. Or, hey, I need to go use the restroom for a second. We used different color cards. I had a check-in board in my classroom for when she would come into my room to check in, because she had check-in, check-out in her IEP. We utilized that. So it was a nonverbal way for all, and I used it for all my students, not just her, but it gave them a nonverbal way to let me know how they were feeling, how their day was going. And so through that, and then also holding her accountable for what she was responsible for, was her plan. She had her group therapy, individual counseling. And we implemented these strategies, and I will also tell her teachers, like, make sure she raises her hand. Don't just give her a pencil. Don't just give her make her advocate to do it. And we would practice with her all the time. There were sometimes she might break down crying because she didn't want to do it, but we were there to support her through being uncomfortable, because we're holding her accountable for what she is responsible for, to help her work through that situation, to understand it's not the end of the world. Because, hey, it was middle school, everything was a crisis for her. Everything was a crisis for her, but I had to let her understand and know, your crisis is not my crisis. Okay? Your lack of planning, it is not a crisis for me. Your lack of not doing your work, it is not a crisis for me. I can help you figure out, hey, what are you going to do? You didn't do your homework, so here are your options. This is what you need to do. Okay? Now, if it is a student who is showing severe behaviors, meaning it's interfering with their education and the education of others, and it's getting very severe where they're becoming aggressive, then you have to look at, is the general education placement is that the proper placement for them? Is a special education classroom the proper placement for them? Is a regular public school the proper placement for them? I don't think it's fair to just say, oh, this student has mental health issues or has an emotional problem, they don't need to be in a special, they don't need to have special education services, because you don't know the severity of their disability. You don't know what their needs are. Like, you really have to look at the needs of the disability, and the needs of the student, and the severity of the disability. That will help you to determine, okay, what's the type of placement they need? What type of programming do they require? Okay? All right. Let's go to another question. All right. Someone says, I'm earning my master's in special education. I also hold a master's in social work. Although this is a new experience for me, I find working with students rewarding. How can I efficiently create lesson plans given the diverse skill levels of my students? Okay. So, someone who's a social worker is switching to become a special education teacher. Actually, you're going to be bringing a lot of skills from social work to your education experience, because you're bringing a counseling background with you. You're bringing that you're bringing those resources, your knowledge of those resources that are available to the student. You're bringing that with you as well. So one thing I would recommend to you is looking at all of your students' IEPs, and making a list of your students and what their accommodations are. First off, make sure you're clear on their programming, and make sure you're clear on who gets what accommodations and who gets what related services. That's something that I used to do, like, before the school year started, and I want to say it helped me a lot. I would go through their IEP, their previous IEP, so I was able to see comments from input from previous teachers. I was able to see, okay, what are the accommodations they require, what supports do they need in the classroom, and I was able to create a list. And another reason I created that list was because I was co-teaching at the time, so I knew that me making the list is going to help the co-teacher as well. So we had a list of students who got testing accommodations. We had a list of students who got how did they require what accommodations were required for them in English, because we were English teachers. So, like, in the English class, what accommodations do they require? So we made a list for that. I want to say that really helped us a lot. And then making sure that we was able to meet all different modalities, because yes, you're going to be speaking auditory. You want to make sure you have things that are visual for your students, and also try to make it as kinesthetic as possible, where they can move around as well, because you're going to have students where you're going to be repeating directions a million times. So you're going to have students who hear the beginning of what you're saying. You have students who hear the middle of what you say. Some students who just heard the end of what you said. So it's just like also looking at their accommodations to see, what do you need to do in your classroom for them? So making sure you always have visuals for everything. I made sure directions were in simplified terms for them, and I made sure I modeled a lot. We always did the I do, we do, you do. So doing that gradual release helps a lot. And modeling everything you have an example of everything that they have to do, making sure you have an example for it as well. And then also, um, parents want to know, like, okay, what can I do at home to help my kid? So having like a couple of resources that can help them at home too, practice with whatever skills that you're teaching, that will help a lot. So I use PowerPoint. We use PowerPoints all the time. We use we were English teachers. We use graphic organizers for everything. And we had three different types of graphic organizers. We had the kind where it just had the lines. We had the kind that, excuse me, it didn't have no lines. We had the kind that had the lines, and then we had a modified one where it remind each section reminded the student what was supposed to go in that section, and it had lines in it as well. And so, we were able to give the students the type of graphic organizer that they required. So definitely pay attention to the students' accommodations and modifications to see like what accommodations they need, what modifications do they require. Like, do they require modified exams? Do they require what do you have to do to if you're, for me, English, so a lot of times we had to do sentence starters, we had to do graphic organizers. Those were like some things very specific for English because we did a lot of writing. Those were some things that we definitely had to do. But yeah, once you get into the swing of it, you will understand like what it is you need to do in your lessons for your students. All right, that was a great question. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Go ahead, you can drop your questions in the comments. Somebody said, what jokes or stereotypes did you hear about special education? I would say the biggest one was that it was a place. Like, special education is a place that you go to. And I'm just like, it's once I started my career, I'm like, it is a service. It is not a place. You don't go to special education. It's a service that's being provided. So it can be, so special education service can be provided anywhere. It's not um confined to a space in the school. It can happen anywhere in the school because you're providing a service. Another stereotype is, oh my God, you got it easy because you're expected, you got it easy. You only got a few students. You don't understand that those few students, one student can feel like three students. One student can feel like five students. So like, yes, I have three, but in all honesty, I got like 9 to 15 kids in my room because that's what it feels like because of all the needs that they have. That's what it feels like. And if you are a SPED teacher, you understand exactly what I mean when I say you have one kid who feels like five, or one kid who feels like three kids. That's just like every day I was exhausted going home, so tired. And I laugh at that now. Oh, you got it easy. You're a SPED teacher. You got a few students. No, it's nothing easy about being a special education teacher. Nothing easy at all. All right, let me see, what other questions do we have? Okay, let me see. Do 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 do. Okay. Let me see. Let me read this. I think a question just came in. Hold on, let me go back. You guys got some great questions. Whoa. Oh shoot, I'm on the wrong one. That's why I can't see anything. All right, let's see. Questions. Actually, let me go back to this one. All righty. All right. Oh, someone says, I'm about to take a job as a special education assistant. I have taught before, but not in this role. It will be new for me. I'm nervous and excited. Give feedback, please. Words of encouragement. Well, first I'm gonna say congratulations on taking that role. Um, One thing I would definitely say is get to know the teacher or teachers you'll be working with, and ask them for the IEP at a glances so you know the type of students that you're going to be supporting. I want to say that's the biggest thing. You definitely want to create rapport with the teacher or teachers that you'll be working with, and being able to understand the students that you're going to be servicing. Now, one of the reasons you want to build rapport with the teachers is so that they can see what your strengths are. Like, hey, you may be very strong in reading, or you're very strong in math. Also, this helps them to learn about you, other things that you bring to your role. You may work very well with students who are having a meltdown, and you can, support them with that. Um, Organization is key. Making sure you are organized. Always have a notebook so that way you can document your observations, document anything that's happening. Remember to put the date, the time, and where you were when it happened. If it was a certain class for a student, and what students you were supporting, because you always got to cover yourself. Always make sure you cover yourself. So always have your notebook. You can take notes and things like that. In your, make sure you can take notes. In the wherever you are. That's like your proof of anything that ever happens. You have your notes. Another thing I would say is to make sure you're clear on the services that the students receive, their accommodations, and what goals, and how you and the teacher will be tracking the goals, like tracking their progress, monitoring, etc. Because your teacher could use you to support with the progress monitoring. They need your support with that. They need your help with that. So you definitely want to make sure you're clear. And if you're not clear, let your teachers know that, hey, I don't understand this. Can you explain this to me again? Can you help me understand? Make sure you do that. But I would just say definitely have rapport with your student, with the teachers that you are supporting, and the students. Like, get to know them. Make sure your teachers give you what you need. You need to have their IEP at a glances to know what you need to support them with, what accommodations they're supposed to receive, their schedules. If you're going to be following a student from class to class, you need to make sure you have their schedule and things of that nature, and what's the proper way to, I would say, handle students, especially if you're dealing with behavior. Like, if there's any particular techniques, if you need to get CPI trained, things like that. You want to make sure you're safe as well. But I just want to say congratulations to you, and I wish you the best in your new role. Okay. All right. Let's see what other questions do we have. Mm, let's see. Oh, this teacher, she was just like, here's a question. Well, it's not really a question. This person is like venting about what other options do they have, because she's a special education teacher. She said, I'm exhausted. I'm not excited about work anymore. Just going to survive in this crazy, chaotic world we're living in. What other options do I have? She said she cried in her closet. I would say to this teacher, I would say, you may need a change of scenery. You may need to just switch schools. You'd be surprised, change of environment, what it'll do for you. I want to say I definitely did that. I had to change the districts that I was working at. And when I did that, I felt like I was teaching again. I fell in love with teaching again. So I want to say to that teacher, like, what are your options? You may need to change districts. And that's okay. Just like, sometimes, hey, the kids need a change of scenery, a change of environment. You need it too. So I would recommend, hey, apply at a different district and see how it is for you. Um, okay, let's see what other questions we got here. Alrighty. Do 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 do. All right. Oh, someone just posted this question. Um, what is needed to improve special education for students and teachers? Oh my gosh, where do I begin? So much to say here. Well, especially for teachers, you definitely want to give more um, appropriate training for teachers, paraprofessionals, because that is lacking across the country. Like within districts, like teachers and paraprofessionals are not getting the necessary training that they need. It's like give them the right training. They're going in PD. They're going into PDs just because hey they teach fifth grade, hey go in with the fifth grade and do that PD. And it's like it would be more meaningful if they actually had a PD that pertained to what they're doing. Hey, we're about to have progress reports. How about we have a PD on progress monitoring to make sure our systems are up to date and up to par. How about that? Just giving making sure you're providing appropriate PD and coaching for teachers. Seeing it, applying what you learned from the PD and applying it into your role. Okay, and as far as students, having enough staff to support the population that you are servicing. Every year it's not going to be the same, so you can't service all the students the same. Making sure you have staff to properly service students, I would say, is a big one. Making sure you have enough staff for that, making sure you have various modes of assessments. Like I know some schools may just use iReady. A computer-based intervention, it does not work for all students. Some students need that explicit instruction from a teacher, not being on a computer. So having various assessment tools for your population, definitely doing that. And I would say for parents, I know sometimes some parents will keep their child at a school because they feel safe, but the school is not properly servicing that student. They're not properly supporting that student or servicing them, but the parent feels the child is safe there, and also they may have siblings at that school. I want to say, like, just really really think about how you are setting your child up for success for life after high school, because life after K-12, because if they're not getting supported, they're not getting the services that they require and need, we're wasting time. Time is being wasted when they could be in a learning environment where they can be learning. So I want to say, like, definitely, see what other schools are available to give your child exactly what they require and what they need. Oh my God, there's so much I could say. Um, not having cookie cutter solutions to special education. Stop putting band-aids on the problem. Actually get to the root of the problem and solve it. You see band-aids being put on issues all the time, like not really addressing the problem, not really addressing the issue. Like, stop putting band-aids on it. If you do it right the first time, it's going to be right all the time. Or if you do it right the first time, you may have to make a couple tweaks to it, but you don't have to do that much to it. Being proactive and stop being so reactive to problems. It's like, invest the money so that you can get the training for your teachers, so hey, it can decrease the number of lawsuits you've been in. Invest the training so that your teachers know how to properly write IEPs, so again, you can stay out of litigation because the IEP was not written properly. So it's like, invest the money appropriately. Like, oh my God, there's so much to say. Let me go to another let me go to another question. Let me go to another question here. Um Oh, I work with kids and who are in high school. I support them in career tech classes. Along with that, um, uh, oh, we have too many kids are graduating. However, like, what are they learning? How can we better support students before they graduate? Oh, great, great question. That is an amazing question. So definitely, and this goes into transition. You really want to make sure your if your child is age if they're age 14 and up, definitely want to make sure that transition planning has started for them, because this is where you're going to be planning what the student is going to be doing for life after high school. So you want to make sure, hey, if they are college bound, that you are working on the skills that's going to help them for life after high school. What's going to help them in college? Like, definitely self advocating, self advocating, organization, um, being able to prioritize things. Like, you want to make sure they know how to do those things. And then also you want to make sure that your child gets updated psychoeducational done if they have a learning disability, so that way when they contact the office of student services at the college, it may be um, academic support or Center for Academic Achievement or something like that, or disability depart services. You want to make sure you have updated paperwork to show that your child has a need so they can get accommodations. They can get accommodations. It could be a psychological impairment, it could be a learning impairment, it could be a chronic health impairment or physical impairment. You can get accommodations, but you want to make sure your paperwork is updated so that way you can get those accommodations when your child is in college. You want to make sure they're working on those skills too during transition planning. So hey, if their interests are in um let's just say the medical field or something like that, let's say they're very interested in being a nurse, and you may be saying, hey, they don't have the capacity to be a nurse. Okay, that doesn't mean like, hey, they can't do anything in the medical field. What can they do? What's the profession that they could do in the medical field? A lot of times, like, the decision is made, oh, they don't have the capacity to do that, let's look at something else. But it's like, if they're interested in the medical field, let's find something that they are able to do, and then have those activities where they are researching those things, where they're able to even shadow someone or talk to someone from that profession to learn more about that role. If college is the goal, or if, let's say, the military, army, or navy, any of that, if that's a goal, you need to research, okay, what do I need to do? What steps do I need to do? How do I need to prepare myself for that? What are the things I need to do in order to qualify? Like, that can be a part of the transition plan. If your child has complex needs, let's say they're going to need SSI and Medicaid, etc., you can start applying for that stuff now while they're in transition, because it takes a long time to get that secured. So you don't want to wait till they graduate and then apply. You want to do that during transition. That's the time. You want to get connected with Office of Rehabilitation Services in your state. You want to get connected with SSI, Social Security income. How, like, what do you have to do to apply for that? What do the parents need to do? So that way they know it's a team effort and you're working on it while they are during their transition time. So that starts at 14 and it ends when they graduate high school. But you don't want to wait until they graduate to do all this stuff. And I see that happening so much. These students are graduating high school, they come to college, and it's like, oh, I did have an IEP. I'm like, they're inquiring about accommodations, but paperwork is not up to date, and you can tell they're lacking the executive functioning skills that they need to survive in higher education or to work a job, have competitive employment, because you have a problem with socializing with people, or you got aggression issues. Like, you got to work on those things, like, because you got to prepare them for life after school. So we definitely need more training for our SPED teams on transition planning, on transition period. And making sure you definitely have the time to work on those skills with the student. Okay? That was a great question. All right, we're gonna let me see how much time. Okay, let's take about like two more. All righty. Let's see. Hold on. Let's check. See if we got any other questions. Let me see. Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay, no questions there. Let me check over here. Alrighty. All right. This is, it's not funny, but this is a teacher. Um, they're a young teacher, and they're saying they feel like quitting. Any advice? You got to do what is best for you. I will say, make sure you are taking your lunch and you're eating your lunch. Leave your classroom if you need to. Go be with people who are your friends at work or your village at work. And let's say you don't have one. Go eat your lunch outside. Eat it somewhere else but your classroom. Because a lot of times you're working nonstop. And this is why you're starting to hate your job, because you're working nonstop. Like even for your lunch, you may not even take your lunch. You may not even go to the bathroom because you're like, oh, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, or I gotta make this phone call, I gotta do this. No, make your to-do list, and whatever you don't finish, tomorrow's a new day to finish that to-do list. Schedule your joy, whatever that looks like for you. You may have to schedule it every single day because you're that burnt out, and that's okay. But schedule your joy. What do you want to do for yourself and give yourself something to look forward to? Because a lot of times you're focused on work, 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 work. And being a SPED teacher is paperwork, 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 paperwork. That's what it feels like. And so you don't have a balance. You're not stopping to eat your lunch. You're not even stopping to go to the bathroom. And then you may even take it home. What? Yep, that was me. That used to be me. Until I finally started dropping my bag at the door. And I didn't open that bag up until I was at work the next day. And it took me a while to do that because I felt bad. I'm like, but I gotta do this for the kid. Those kids not taking care of you. You gotta do what's best for you. So you need to have balance for yourself. You have to turn it off. You have to turn it off. Take a mental health day. I always took mental health days. And there were some, I remember I was so tired. I was so overworked. I was out of work for 3 days. And when I tell you all I did was sleep, all I did was sleep. That's how tired I was. Because I was pushing myself past my capacity. I didn't have a good balance. And I was not scheduling my joy. I like to eat, so I was taking my lunch, but I can remember still being at my desk eating my lunch, still doing work. You know what I mean? So it took me a while to learn how to do that. It took me a while to learn how to do that. Drop my bag at the door. Um, what I didn't finish, I was not taking it home. I'm gonna finish it tomorrow. And then giving myself something to look forward to, like, hey, not going straight home after work. I may take the scenic route home so I can just, see things that make me feel good. Hey, I might stop at the park. I may stop and get myself some water ice. Philly girl right here. So yeah, I love me some water ice. So I might stop to go do that. I may stop to go walk on the track. I may go walk on the trail just to make me feel, do something to make me feel good. I may, hey, meet up with a friend just to get, hey, we're going to get some ice cream, or hey, we're going to go out to dinner. That could be something bigger that I look forward to, going out with a friend, going over to a friend's house, or going over to a family member's house. You know, what's going to give you that joy to help you keep going until your break? Until your break, until the next break, and the next break, and then before you know it, the school year's over. You have to find those things that work for you. Because and I'm telling you this because I had to do that myself. I don't want you to be in a burnt out and you're in a hospital bed because you're burnt out. You're in the ER because you're burnt out. That was me. I don't want anybody else to have to do that. Okay. Ooh, excuse me. All right, here's another question. It says, can students with IEPs be suspended? Are they allowed to get suspension? So, students with IEPs, they can be suspended. However, being the case manager, you have to track how many days they're being suspended for. So they shouldn't get like the first time they get suspended, it shouldn't be 2 weeks the very first time, or you're getting 5 days like right away. Like you got to keep track of how many days they're being suspended. Once you're about to hit that day 10 and you see yourself approaching that day 10, you need to notify your special education director, because once you get past 10 days, you need to do a manifestation of determination to see is the behavior a manifestation of their disability. Because once they reach that number of days, that threshold, every time a school wants to suspend that kid after they've already reached that 10, you got to do a manifestation of determination each time. You can't just suspend them. So there shouldn't be a child with an IEP that is being suspended 20 days, 15 days. You need to go back. We need to go back to the drawing board. We need to go back and look at their programming, because perhaps something is not working here. We need to go back and look at the placement because something is not working here. Because the IEP is meant to support them in their education, support them in their behavior. So if you get to the point where you're at a manifestation of determination meeting, you got to go back to the IEP and say, what is not working here? And that's the missing piece a lot of schools are missing. They're not going back to look at the IEP to see what is not working. They're like, oh no, we just suspended that kid, and then you may even run into a lawsuit because you suspended that kid more times than it is allowed. And just working in education, if I got a student who has been suspended more than 10 days, what's going on? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? You gotta look back at the IEP and see, okay, if this is not working, okay, let's call another IEP meeting. If the service that's going to be provided doesn't change their special education time, amend the IEP. Of course, get permission from the parent. Amend the IEP, add the service if it's not going to change their special education time. If it is going to change their special education time, you need to have a whole new IEP meeting with a new rep and see, like, okay, what do we need to do here to support this student? Because, hey, they're getting suspended a lot. What's going on? Do they need counseling? Do they need another service? Are they acting out this way because they're having a hard time learning? What other learning supports do we need for this student? So you have to look at it like that. You have to look at it like that. What's not working in their IEP? What's not working in their plan? You can't keep suspending a kid and suspending them. Because again, the IEP is supposed to work for them. It's supposed to help them thrive in their education, help them thrive in their behavior. And if they're not, we need to go back to the IEP and see what needs to be changed. What needs to be changed? All right, let me see if we have any more questions. All right, this is the last call for questions. Last call for questions. Drop your questions in the chat. Last call for questions. All right. Okay, I don't see any. All right, this was great. This was great. I just want to remind you guys, make sure you subscribe to our IEP Insider newsletter. It is specifically for special education teachers and administration. We give a lot of strategies and tips that you can apply the very next day. The very, very, very next day. Let's see. And also, we have our webinar, Progress Monitoring 101, the missing system costing your school growth and how to fix it. That webinar, it is next week. It is December the 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, and this is specifically for principals, administrators, SPED directors. This is for you because we want to get your school in order, because progress monitoring is at the core of everything. All right. Let me drop that in the comments as well. And if you're on IG, you can click the link in our bio and register. It is absolutely free to register. All right, one last call for questions. Okay, I don't see any questions. Thank you all so much. Remember to be kind to yourself, and remember what your capacity is. You are one person. Do not work past capacity, because once you do that, that is when burnout occurs, and that is not what we want. So make sure you don't push past your capacity. And remember, be kind to yourself and be safe. And we will see you all next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here at the Coaching Corner. Peace.